All right, welcome everyone with Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Fruits Basket, Season 2, Episode 17.
All right, we had some good Momiji stuff last episode.
We did.
Really, really sweet. Tohru. Sad. Tohru, though, being her best, just trying to be there for them. And
navigating the enemy dungeon. And like, circumnavigating, like, you know, potential bosses or whatever, and maybe new characters that might... You don't know what the situation is there, and giving World's contact info to Kureno.
Yeah,
hell yeah,
let's go.
Yes. Oh. I'm kind of worried now, though.
The whole stuff with Shigure and the house there, and let's have everyone just kind of breathe a little bit. And you know, there was some good stuff with Kyo on the roof.
There was, and I am curious to see how that gets progressed. Yeah.
Yeah. So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. Alright everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
My heart.
So, first things first. Kyo.
Yeah.
Tohru. Point, what I think is being like triply confirmed from at least in this episode to kind of draw attention to it was the idea of something being your business versus not your business.
Yeah.
And Yuki was saying, hey, Tohru likes somebody, they like her, that's their business.
Yep.
It's not mine. And I like that, basically that way of saying that even if he has strong feelings towards Tohru, they're not the kind of jealous, immature feelings that would basically say that he can't allow for Tohru to be happy romantically with somebody else.
Exactly.
So
it's a great bit of maturity in this.
Right.
Yeah.
But on the immature potential side of things, there is that fierce potential vindictive thing, which is very much a romantic thing under certain immature lights of I would never ever forgive you, and they almost made fun of it here by saying, we wouldn't be friends. Wait, what? Like, did you just say that? And
right, exactly.
Why did you say that? Which means Yuki is okay with Kyo and Tohru getting together.
Yep.
And honestly, I think that's where this thing is going. Like, I mean,
I think so too.
Like, I think that's basically where this is going.
Yeah.
Because Tohru is feeling the attraction towards Kyo, but not just the doki doki, but like the there's something that I don't fully understand. You know?
Right, and that's one of the things that has always been in a lot of ways the real elephant in the room of how they would address any kind of romance stuff in this show, because Tohru is such a loving person that she already loves like all the characters in the show, even people that I would say she shouldn't, right? Like, you know, where it's like, no, maybe you like, it's okay.
I mean, there's very few characters that aren't deserving of love in any
that's fair
setting.
That's
so
fair.
I mean,
fair. Yeah, more of being worried about her personal
We're in the fuck Akito
boundaries.
club.
Yeah, exactly. Like, right.
The way we save Akito is Akito gets love, for God's sake, right? Like,
it's true. But the point is, so then going from there to the how does romance fit in? No, Shigure, don't you be the one that talks about that with Tohru. You're a bad influence, right?
But Shigure is right. These kinds of trips are really special for guys that are on the, like, they're the ones that are going to, typically kind of do the confession side of things. And yet, Kyo is the one that gets confessed to.
Yep.
And then later he kind of does Kyo is on a time limit.
And this is where I could love the show actually leaning into the tropes, but in a sort of reversal way. If we end up getting something where Kyo is the damsel in distress and Tohru needs to save him as the shining knight that she is,
after they've like had their moment of
love,
where
like I cannot tell you just how excited I would be for that, because even though Tohru is like,
it would hurt Tohru so much though.
Well, okay, yes, but from the standpoint of Tohru's like demeanor and everything, right? She is absolutely not the type that would like charge in, you know, right?
Oh, I think she would be like.
But the thing,
I think she would be like sundered, not like not just like, oh, my heart is hurt, but like,
oh yeah,
like
we've
despair.
We've seen
like,
how much of an empath she is for other people. Like in the previous episode, when Momiji was talking to her about stuff, she was literally shaking as if like she was getting punched or something, and then collapsed to the ground. And it wasn't like just like a sink, like it was like she was like getting staggered, you know. So if we were in a situation like that where Kyo gets taken away, oh yeah, it would be all kinds of bad. But at the same time, what do we want more than to see
here? Kyo and Tohru spend a good portion of time together. Now, we get a little bit of setup for how this is a thing where we can have a little bit of a romantic school trip, and then we're, of course, looking at all the
other potential
pairs
couples
and all that. And we see someone come up to Kyo, and they're very much wanting to let him know, like, hey, like, I'm interested in you. I like you. And he blows her off, and he blows her off. And this is something that I think is rather cool, is that, one, a girl went and approached Kyo.
Yeah.
Way to go, girl! Like that's
awesome.
You got some you got some courage in you. I'm like, no, not balls, stones. What I no, good job. Now, obviously, rejection sucks, but eventually you have to take that no for an answer and move on. Throwing shade at Uo because she just happened to be nearby, and you see everything through your heteronormative view there. You're like, then you must like him.
Act like you do, and maybe eventually it'll come true. I get the feeling.
None of my business.
But like, I feel like you wouldn't appreciate that very much, right?
So, boy, we have bitch.
And like that was also, I gotta say, a bit refreshing from the standpoint of like anime girl confesses. I'm expecting there to be like, like big tears and all of that stuff, right? And whatnot. But and while Kyo was a bit harsh, it's like, okay, you can maybe understand a bit of where it comes from. Like, girl, what do you want me to say? Right. Like, basically, how do I make this clear for you?
Once I said no, I'm not interested. Why are you still here?
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, but this is one of the things that I really liked that Kyo did here, because I don't see this enough in fiction sometimes. Is basically the idea of, like you're saying, if a guy basically starts badgering a girl because she's saying no, well, he's a fucking predator, basically.
Right. It's there's a problem.
There's a huge potential double standard where it's the idea that if a girl comes up to a guy and he rejects her, well, then he's basically a prude. Like, how can you ever reject a woman? And like,
well, and the two guys that were like, being the peanut gallery, and they were like taking up offense for the girl that Kyo rejected her, and it's like, hold on.
But also, I love that they didn't say, I wish we could have been you, to say, oh, and sweet, and it's cute, and
my heart was squeaking the entire time.
And they ended up holding hands for a little bit, and they're very like embrace kind of way.
Right. There was no interlocking of fingers. That would be too lewd and would need to be censored. Like yes,
the way it was so like light and sensitive in that regard, because it wasn't a grasping, it was a almost just a touching,
that's the kind of thing. That's the kind of shit where it's like, if this were like not an anime or something, I'm just imagining in my head the 2005 Pride and Prejudice, where like that happens with Darcy and Elizabeth, and then he's like, we were originally talking about it.
You saw the redhead, and you were like,
redhead that's like, not the princely type or whatever, or princess type. I'm like, oh well, I'm sorry, I'm still going to ship you, of course, because
I actually think that romantically, I mean, this is basically Kyo's game to throw. There's no way I think this can be actually ruined outside of a full supernatural, tactical bombardment from Akito.
Right. And
other than that, we're strong.
And the reason why I would say that there's actually, so there was another show that had a princely / princess type with a red-haired person who was also wonderful, right?
Yeah.
It went the way that it went. But the point is that generally, whenever you see conflict that is internal versus external for the dynamic, that is how you can know where it will go. Because if it's environmental conflict, then that's something that needs to be overcome, right?
Right.
If it's internal conflict, then it's its own separate thing, right? And Yuki is right now dealing with the internal conflict of, hey, I need to be me, right? I need to figure out my own path, and that's a wonderful way for his character to progress. That does not necessarily involve romance, and he will change and all of this stuff.
But Kyo's
is external, right? It's not something where he's like, oh, I guess I'll just forget my feelings and put them aside because you also like this person, you know, right? It's nothing like that.
No.
It's the, oh, I'm going to get locked away. What do I do about that? Right?
No, nothing he can do now.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just
it's natural that he's then hesitant to be like, how do I want to be with you, but
he can't just confess to her, because then if he then
cruel,
gets ripped
right?
away from her, that would be absolutely cruel. And she doesn't really, like, probably in her head realize that Akito is dead serious. Like, like,
right. Tohru is so overwhelmingly optimistic and like, no, I'll break this curse and everything, and she's doing what she can, she's trying and everything, but I don't think there's a real there is no doubt in her mind that there's no worry about whether or not it'll work, right? Like, because she's not the type to fret. Well, she's like, not in that way.
She is the type to worry, panic about things that are directly in front of her, but she is also the kind of person to put things aside if they don't seem to be immediately pressing. So the idea that this school trip is something that she forgot, well, it's because it wasn't immediately pressing to her.
And that's
but when
probably
something. I was just going to say that when something like what happened with Akito confronting her, that's something where she can't even probably rationalize how that would even work. So she doesn't constantly think about, God, what am I going to do to stop this, you know?
Yeah, and that's probably where her problems of taking care of herself come from, because her own needs are never really that pressing, right? But she can't tell how pressing it is for someone else. So like, Uo is sad, right? You know, like that whole thing with Kureno, she goes to the estate, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no question about it. You know, it's as simple as that.
So she constantly downplays her own emotional responses to things, and because she can't read perfectly how other people respond to things, but also because she's so overtly sensitive to other people's responses. This is one of the things that is a problem, I would say, about being a person who is what I would call an empath without boundaries, is basically that they believe that other people's feelings are their business.
Sure. So like when Kyo responded in the way that was like still, you know, a little harsh, right? You know, then that was something that really bothered her, right?
Basically, that's not your business. And
right.
She's like, oh.
Wait, will I get cast aside too? And I love that she brings that up, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a good thing to process and work through and think about. And that's, you know, how much of that would be the thing where it would make the relationship between the two of them be a problem versus it being something where it's the, all right, let's talk about that. Let's get to a better understanding of ourselves and each other, you know, so that becomes not a problem. And then that's why the hand-holding scene was so wonderful, because it's the, no, that is, you don't have to worry about that, even though it was not verbally brought up.
No.
So, yeah.
So, oh, the Shipper Heart is so happy this episode.
And, yet, anytime there's a lot of happiness, I get worried, right? Because, you know, like, last episode was pretty happy, all things considered. This one was really happy, and like the end card thing for the title of what seemed like the next episode would be like First Kiss or something like that, and it's like, okay, but then we also know that like romance is the thing that Akito tends to especially not like, and like so yeah,
and I want to bring up something here that was very deliberate foreshadowing, but it's also a thing as to tie in a little bit as to a reason as to why Yuki does not like Kyo. Is he said, you know, if anyone hurts her, I won't forgive you. I will never, ever forgive you. And what did Kyo do when Tohru chased after him and he was in his cat form?
He hurt her.
He hurt her.
That's true. Now, I think... Now, keep going.
Oh, just...
like, yeah, right. That's definitely a conflict for between the two of them, and I think the reason why he's gotten a lot better about it now is that it's the... I think it's less of the do you hurt her versus the is it something where you're intentionally like being callous about it? So like
no, I disagree.
Yeah?
No,
Okay.
I think it's the thing where Yuki. This is where Yuki is immature.
Ooh,
is that
okay.
he actually is literally saying if you do anything to hurt her, it's a possessive form of protection.
Because in relationships, if you care about the person, you will get hurt by the person. That's how it works, right?
Getting hurt is not a crime or a sin, an awful thing.
That's not a bad thing. It's an uncomfortable thing that you want to avoid, but that's a symptom of the fact that you're actually getting closer to the person. So then the little ways that you move around in maybe some weird, unique ways to you, that ends up bumping or scraping up against the person. What's
more important, I would say, than whether or not you're hurting a person is whether or not both people care about the other person and trust the other person.
Sure.
So an example of this is let's say Kyo and Tohru end up together, right? Mm-hmm. Kyo has an abrasive personality, and Tohru has a sensitive personality.
Those could be a bad combo.
That means that there will be times where Tohru will get hurt by things that Kyo says.
Right.
And it's not because Kyo doesn't care about Tohru, it's because he makes a mistake, basically.
Right.
And what Yuki is saying, basically, is don't make mistakes around Tohru. She's too perfect for anyone to make mistakes around her.
Which sounds like the fatal flaw in why him and Tohru would never work, because then he wouldn't necessarily be able to be real around her, which is maybe why, like, even some of the things that he did in this episode felt like he was using a little bit of that Prince energy, right? Because it's the...
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
But
I'm interrupting.
Because... And you don't want to have it be like that. That sounds like a relationship that's sterile, right? Where it's like it's
not a romantic relationship.
It's not a romantic relationship, right?
To put it in perspective here, it's like a person who makes a pet with a butterfly.
Ooh,
something that is too light and fragile and pristine and
to even interact with,
to even touch.
So you put it in a cage where it'll be safe.
Put it in a cage where it'll be safe,
right?
And nothing will ever interact with it or hurt with it.
Yep.
And you can't, really, you can kind of communicate with a dog,
Sure.
You can kind of tell when the dog is not feeling well. You can't tell when a butterfly is not feeling well.
And even if you could, what would you be able to do from the other side of a glass, barrier, right? Like it's... Yeah. It's something where I feel like that is a very common mistake with first loves.
Yes.
Because you so value the person, right, that it's and you become so hypersensitive to, like, their feelings and things like that, that then any little issue becomes this huge, like, negative association, like, oh, I don't want to do that,
this doesn't happen for all first loves, but it is something that happens a lot when you don't actually love the person, but you more obsess over them. Because one of the things that happens, I would say, a lot when you love a person, but you don't actually really, like, have a good handle on what love is, you have, I would say, a little bit more of what kind of Tohru's going through, which is I don't know what's going on within me.
Sure. Yeah.
But something about this person is a mystery. They do something to me. I don't know what it is.
Right.
And that's more of you don't really control or understand your feelings.
Yeah, the heart is a fickle, wild thing.
But when you're in what I think Yuki's dealing with right now, where he's, like, resolved, and he's like he repeated it to himself. Like that's something where he's got an imbalanced view of Tohru, that if Tohru ever saw him kind of doing this, like, overtly, I think she would kind of be a bit okay.
She would see it as probably being something of her causing him pain, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, and the thing is that kind of I feel like the difference is something where Yuki, well, okay, not to talk about Yuki, but in those situations, with that kind of, like, obsession kind of love, it's something where you're not seeing things from the other person's perspective, right?
Sure.
Because if from the other person's perspective, being separated from someone because you don't want something bad to happen, that would be the worst thing ever, right?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah, like that would absolutely suck, right?
That would suck, yeah.
And also that could be seen as making them fragile when maybe they're not.
Sure.
Right? You know, where it's
it takes away their agency.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Let them decide of whether or not
How they're going to get hurt.
Yeah, how they're going to get hurt and how they're going to work through being hurt, right?
Yeah.
Is something a scratch or did their arm get cut off, right? That's not for you to decide.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. And I feel like Yuki, because he gets inside his own head so much, whereas Kyo is a lot more of like a sort of blasé approach, you know?
Sure.
Like, or at least on the surface it can seem like that.
Yeah.
Or comparatively to Yuki. I feel like that's where Yuki's issue comes in, and I'm very curious to see how that ends up getting resolved because...
Yeah, because he is kind of that prince character where he feels like he should be looking out for others. And that's a good thing for a leader to do because as he's getting his development with the student council and stuff, we're starting to see him be a little bit more relaxed in terms of actually how he handles their chaos.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, he's genuinely friends with Nabe.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like
he actually said the F word, right? Like,
right. How can they not be friends unless they're already friends? So it's like, Yuki, you're doing it, Peter. You're doing it.
Exactly.
Like,
and I want to say,
yeah, he even calls him Nabe. His real name's Manabe. You know.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. That kind of arc resolution is very difficult to do because romance is something that there's a lot of associated feelings with that, right? So it's very like it's a lot more straightforward of like what, you know, that arc might entail potentially, right?
Do they or don't they like each other?
Do they or don't they like each other? What are the obstacles in themselves and in their interactions with the other person and in the environment? How do they overcome them, right?
Yep.
When it's something of no. Romance is definitely something that is like a big part of Yuki's life right now. It's a big part of his story, but that's not where the arc will cause him to grow.
Right.
You have to be very like specific and make the image crystal clear
as to which is which.
As to which is which and exactly how he's going to grow. And I want to say that I think that is an absolute testament to the
character writing
to the character writing of Yuki.
Yes.
Because having that level of nuance is, I think it's just impressive.
It's really impressive because then the show throws comedy as well into the mix,
right? And
then suddenly you're like, wait, this scene that had dramatic character implications for Yuki is now also a comedy scene.
Yep.
What the fuck? This show
How are they
amazing.
doing this? How are they doing this?
So okay, the Yuki stuff with the student council. I have multiple things to say about this.
Yeah.
One, Yuki has real friends now.
He does. Yep.
And I want to bring up something that
separate
I'm not
from
trying
Tohru.
Exactly. This is not a thing to say that he wasn't friends with Kyo and Tohru and the Somas and Hatsuharu and all that. I'm bringing up the idea that these are friends that Yuki made. Rather than being friendships of convenience or semi-family kind of living together roommates, you know?
Right.
And they were roommates, you know? But this is more of a thing where Yuki took action. He sacrificed time, effort, energy, and what have you, and also kind of changed a small aspect of who he is in order to build these friendships. Now, part of it is being made easy for him because he has a little bit of his reputation. But as he tears down little bit by little bit his princely image, and thus Manabe is able to connect more and more with him.
Sure.
Because Manabe is almost, I'd say, literally in this story to draw that point, basically, where he's like, the more and more they get closer, the less and less Yuki goes into the toxic prince kind of view there. Which they even pointed out in this episode that Yuki didn't get any confessions. Now, obviously, he has his princely, you know, fan club that is guarding the perimeter.
Right, which is hilarious.
But I still think it's not just that. I still think it's that he's actually also changed so much as a person that there's less, like...
Right.
There's less panic at the disco, if you will, for these for these fan club members.
The people protecting him from confessions were able to remain concealed whilst doing so. They didn't have to, you know, like get riot shields and anybody. Right. Yeah. Exactly. So that I think is definitely right on the money.
And this other side of things where you have what's her name?
One of the student council people,
Kimi Todo.
Yes,
the one that was they were bantering all there.
Yeah,
I think you might be onto something that her and Manabe might be together.
I think so.
That's possible.
I like to think so. I know I'm an avid shipper and can definitely, you know, get get too excited about things when it's like, okay, how much is the story actually wanting to do that? But the bit of them making those specific jabs at each other, I feel like that's
the kind of thing you do
when you're so close to the person, like you're so tight in a relationship that it's like, you know, you'll mess around and really just rib each other, right?
Yeah, I guess maybe they're not, because he says, "Can I see?" and she says, "Shut it! Aren't you completely devoted to your girlfriend?" So maybe.
Oh yeah, maybe not, but like.
Maybe it's completely random.
But maybe that's their flirty banter, right? And it's like later, you know, like.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay, maybe not. Maybe not.
I don't
maybe
think
not.
So yeah, no.
I still like the headcanon, but yeah, probably not. But
I think this is more just them jabbing because they are friends, saying that I think a girl who constantly flirts with guys who have girlfriends can't be trusted. Basically saying that she flirts maybe with him.
Oh, gotcha.
And then she's like, right, because I think a guy who watches dirty videos, who has a girlfriend can't be trusted. Who has a girlfriend can't be trusted.
And that's the kind of line that makes me think like, okay, maybe it's actually just that she doesn't like that he watches dirty videos, and it's like, no, I'm not going to let you see anything about me, and I'm going to make you jealous and stuff because, you know,
they could be flirting right now.
Right.
Yes, this could be them flirting.
And
that it's a thing of where maybe it's not that he doesn't have a girlfriend, like their boyfriend or girlfriend. It's that he has a girlfriend. He has cheated on her with her.
That would be crazy too.
Now, I don't think any of that is necessarily happening.
And I'm sure the show isn't going to go into that level of detail of the ins and outs of the lives of the student council, you know, members, you know, right? Like.
But I think this also might be this thing of where they're more like, get the fuck away from Yuki. I'm his best friend. No, I'm going to be his best friend, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, because, I mean, Toto is doing her best to get close to Yuki.
Oh, she totally is. One of the other things...
But he gives a souvenir to
Machi. The flower to Machi, or the leaf.
Yeah.
That was great.
He's like, this is the symbol of my people, Kanada.
But... something that I really loved that happened in this episode is the bit with Uo and Kyo. So, I want to go into this a little bit.
Which part?
When the person is like, you must like him then. And they're both like, what? You know, like, the girl that confessed to Kyo, like, accuses Uo of having a crush on Kyo.
But is this more just Uo, like, talking to others and herself?
No. So here's why I want to point out that I think that's important. Oh, you must like this person, and both of the people being like, you have totally the wrong idea. That is a classic, like, romance trope of, like, the people like each other, but they don't realize their own feelings and all that stuff.
Okay.
But this is a subversion of that trope, because Uo absolutely likes Kureno, and Kyo absolutely likes Tohru. So instead what this is showing how Kyo, in a similar way that Yuki was able to make friends with the student council, Kyo was able to make a genuine friend in Uo.
Yes.
And granted,
but they've been friends for a while. Like,
no, right. They've been friends for a while, but like, and yes, they both like are very close with Tohru, right? So it makes sense that they'd be in close proximity. But this is a genuine friendship that is completely separate from Tohru, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
Part of the reason why both Hana and Uo, I think, are close with
Kyo is because they know he likes Tohru.
They've known for a while now how much he likes Tohru, and they've been rooting for him for a while.
Okay, I like that. Yeah. Okay, good point. But like, I just loved that as a showcasing that Kyo also does have friends. Kyo is not alone. It's not just going to be the people that are his family or Tohru or whoever that, you know, come and try and help him out if he's locked away in a prison, right?
Yes.
Uo and Hana are absolutely going to be there, and not just because he likes Tohru and Tohru might like him. Of course, that would be a contributing factor.
That's a definite part of it. Keep your friends close, your enemies closer, and your friends' potential boyfriends or girlfriends even closer.
Yeah, exactly. And so I loved that as a thing because like that kind of friendship, I feel like, isn't often shown in anime between people of the opposite genders if they aren't trying to set up the friendship from which romance could come from, you know?
That's true. It's weird how it's very, like, rigid in that regard.
And the thing is that whether that's because of a time constraint, because in this story, you know, it's like, okay, how much focus can you give to all the different characters and stuff? So if it's not relevant to the plot, then you don't do it, right?
Yep.
That could totally be it.
Yep.
But I feel like it can also... It can undermine some of the elements of why those close friendships that could then blossom into romance are so important, right? It's not so that it could blossom into romance, but because it on its own is this wonderfully valuable thing. And if you're going to have a close connection with a person, like a romantic relationship, you would absolutely want it to first have that kind of foundation.
And again, it's also just another way to testament and a thing to affirm Fruits Basket 4 is that they show wonderful, wholesome relationships that are basically just friends between guys and girls in a romantic dramedy where there is plenty of opportunity for shipping, and yet it's like, no, Uo and Kyo?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
When they say, hell no, that is an actual thing, and not just because the characters aren't aware of their feelings or some such.
It's not like they like spending each other because they like each other or anything, but
Right, exactly.
No.
You know, and
bullshit.
I just... That really meant a lot to me, because I feel like most of the time when that kind of shit happens, it's because they're trying to set up romance. And it doesn't have to be for that.
And they do even have, like, nicknames for each other.
Yeah, exactly. Like they are
closer than Hana is to Kyo, if that makes sense.
Right, exactly. If not for the fact that they specifically, each of them had very concrete reasons of why they do not like the other person. Right. You would totally assume maybe that they did, you know? And so that's, yeah. And I love Uo in general, and I love Kyo, so seeing them, like, interact and stuff is just great.
And this is the other thing that I think is rather, like way too deep to get into, but this is something that is where I think also there's a little bit of a black and white kind of view with a lot of these kinds of friendships and stuff like that, is there's probably points, just at the slightest little bit, that they might have attraction towards each other at some point.
Yeah, because they get along well or whatever.
But that doesn't mean anything.
Right. It doesn't necessarily mean it sticks around or whatever. It's like, oh, yeah, I mean, I suppose, but, you know.
Right, exactly.
No. Yeah.
It's the kind of thing where...
Why ruin a good thing? And genuinely meaning that.
Totally. It's the kind of thing where I have seen... like, people get really flustered in arguments with people where they're like, yes, I'm really close with this person. Yes, I love them. No, I am not actually interested in any kind of romantic relationship with them. And then people are like, oh, but if you love them, you must want to be in a romantic relationship with them. And it's like, fuck no, that's not the case.
And sometimes when people... think that way and are okay thinking that way, that's where you get polygamy, right? You know,
I mean, sure,
or polyamory. Polygamy is technically marriage, so that might be a bit more complicated. But you know,
yeah. But anyhow, lovely episode.
So wonderful.
Really love the progression of things going on with Kyo, Tohru, and Yuki in some ways. If anything, I feel like we're setting up though a way in which Yuki and Kyo, though, can have their relationship forever in the, like, not forever, but in, like, the really hard extreme sense sundered, though, by reinforcing the idea that Yuki is not going to have anybody harm Tohru. And he was thinking of Kyo for a little bit of that time.
He was.
Means that he's not just thinking about the past. He's also thinking about the future.
Yeah.
And there is a world line. Where Kyo not just, like, hurts Tohru by his absence.
Sure.
But his cat form.
Yep.
And, like, really, really hurts Tohru.
That's why the way that I think the whole Kyo being captured and then, like, damsel in distress, he needs to be saved, could go so perfectly for all the character arcs, is that then Yuki as well reconciles that, goes with Tohru, and it's also a way that he is then directly standing up to Akito at the same time. right?
Well, I mean, Yuki confronting Akito from a place of emotional strength is just going to be the end to his arc as well. Like that's,
it's written in the stars. It's right there. You know,
It's not subtle.
We don't choose this. We don't make this up. You know, like
this is what the show's telling us.
Right, exactly. You know? Yeah.
So having something like that for Kyo, I think is fine. I just think it's a thing where it's not going to be so easy because before we get that, there is a very real likelihood that Kyo is basically given the hey, you're getting too close to Tohru.
Gotcha.
And then bad things can happen. We've seen what happens basically when somas get into relationships. And this is something that has been kind of looming over everyone's heads in the Soma clan and stuff like that, is that Akito has this like, well, okay, I'm going to draw a connection to what Yuki kind of said here. If you hurt Tohru, I'll never, ever, ever forgive you.
Right.
And it's almost like a threat. Like it's like a, oh. And it's so funny how the show basically takes something that some contexts could use this as a, this is a romantic thing.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
There's a villain, and if the villain should harm this person, then I'll never ever forgive you.
All those werewolf fics where the alpha, like,
God, it's so
like
cringe.
Territorial, whatever, you know.
I'm 14 and this is deep. So in this case here, they make fun of it, and it's the idea of wait, hold on.
Wait, what does that mean? I will never forgive you, right?
Yeah, but also think about what Akito does whenever people get into relationships.
Yeah. God.
Inflicts massive amounts of almost not vengeful, but like penal, vindictive, like just pain, just pure pain, and like that's the kind of thing where, in a lot of ways, I can't put my finger on exactly what it is, but it's something that feels almost like this kind of like the same kind of possessive nature that Yuki is showing a small form of here, that Akito has the same kind of thing over the Soma family members.
Right.
Where it's like, no, you're mine. No one else can have you.
Yeah.
And it's like... it's
gonna be a doozy when we get to the point where we truly see inside Akito's head and how he got to be the way he is, because it could, I'm sure some of it could be influenced by the fact that he's the incarnation of the god or whatever and all that stuff.
Oh, totally.
But it's also gonna. This is a special cocktail that doesn't just have one ingredient.
Damage,
exactly. And that's gonna be a trip.
Yeah.
But
okay. All right. For now, things are
going real good,
and let's keep them going that way.
And yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's just smooth sailing as best as possible.
Yeah.
No horrible things.
All right. So,
nope.
Y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access. You can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.